Oh, finally. Well, hello. This is Dr. Kynes, and I finally figured out how to do this on my computer versus on my phone. Let me see if it's coming up here. So, welcome. Today's training is about what actually is EBV and what symptoms can you expect. There we go. I can see it here. Perfect. So we have a lot of new members in our community. So I thought that it would be prudent to have one training just generally about EBV. So let's get started. EBV is a herpes virus, and it's been on the planet for a couple of millions of years. And if you look at statistics and studies, about 90-95% of general population on this planet has this virus. And in my book, the virus is what it is. We mostly have it. I've had it all my life, probably never got sick from it, except when there is an opportunity. And in my case, the opportunity was last fall, actually, when we had repeated mold exposure and remediation and moving and expenses and another house, another exposure twice in the house, remediation, selling the house, moving again. So by that time, the physical stress, the mental stress, the emotional stress, the financial stress. I am very sensitive to molds physically, so no escape there for me. I know where there's mold. And so that's when I reactivated. And I bet any one of you listening and watching today will remember a time when you feel like a truck hit you over and you remember distinctly what kind of stressful situation in life you had. So the virus is an opportunist, and for most people, when the immune system works and does the job and your life is relatively balanced, it can take care of the virus, like it's taking care of whatever kind of infections could start otherwise in your life. Um, and then when the life is out of balance, that's when EBV can show up in a very ugly way. So what's been happening over the last few decades is that the scientific community has been looking for a global vaccination for EBV, which I don't think is the right solution. And now they are more aggressively doing studies. There's a pilot study right now on a vaccination for EBV, which is related to COVID vaccinations and all that environment. And my immediate concern about that is that they're looking at B cells in particular, but they're not addressing T cells necessarily. And B cells are the favorite immune cell that the virus attacks, but there's other cells as well. So it's not like it's a fit it all, do it all panacea. And because the virus is such an opportunist, we have a lot of opportunities as well to turn it down. And so that's the best part of it. So if you look at medical literature, how do people know that they have EBV? The scientists actually are saying in medical literature, if to the doctors, if your patient has so-called idiopathic condition, which means it can't be explained in any other way, you want to take a look at testing for EBV because it may be it. And then there's other studies saying if you if you have a patient and there are chronic medical conditions, excuse me, and you're doing the protocols and the protocols are not working and you don't know why, then you should also evaluate for Epstein-Barr virus just in case. Okay, so that's just how it works with the virus. It's an opportunist. It's one of those medical mysteries. It goes chronic, you have a problem. So so that's how you want to look at it. Now a lot of people initially are scared. If I have EBV, what about my spouse, my children, and so on and so forth? Well, you can contract the EBV. There's no escape from it necessarily because it is contagious. However, it depends on our immune system, whether the person will be fine or not. And so let me tell you, in our community, we have plenty of spouses that have been around with the person with EBV for many years and they don't have necessarily chronic EBV. So I don't want you to be paralyzed in fear for your loved ones. You don't want to necessarily, share the spoons and the cups together when you have EBV, that's for sure. So the next part of this presentation today is the symptoms of EBV. Excuse me. Okay, why is my mouse not working here? Connection lost. Lost my mouse. Well, that's never happened before. There we go, connected. So let's look at some of the laundry list of symptoms. So let's talk about two biggest symptoms of EBV. It's this unrelentless, unforgiving, relentless, fatigue, kind of latent fatigue, where you can barely pick yourself up from bed and go to the kitchen and back, and you're wasted. So this is the kind of fatigue that spouses and loved ones don't understand. Your friends don't understand because, doctors may say you just need some exercise to feel better. That's wrong recommendations. So that fatigue comes from a lot of oxidative stress that the virus creates, and so it hurts. The other biggest symptom is your brain fog, because with the oxidative stress, the oxidative particles flood your brain as well. Sometimes the virus is in the brain, sometimes it's in your vestibular nerve in the inner ear, so sometimes there's buzzing in the ear and ringing, so it can go anywhere. So symptoms, so these are the two biggest symptoms. Sometimes there's also pain, muscular pain, myalgia pain, a little bit like fibromyalgia type pain. It could be in different locations, so it's hard to tell. The virus really, the symptoms of your virus, other than fatigue and brain fog, the symptoms can have it's like a laundry list. You never know depending on a person, so the presentations will be really odd sometimes. So let's go down. So the brain, I told you, sometimes ocular issues, sometimes there's inflammation in the eyes. Let's go into the mouth. Sore throat, painful neck. Sometimes you have enlarged lymph around the neck. That's very common. The larynx involvement is very common. Tonsils sometimes are involved. So pharyngitis, sore throat, pain here. People don't know that 75% of people with mono or even chronic EBV may have headaches. So headaches are pretty common, and we don't attribute it to EBV because headaches are so common in people in general, and it's not symptoms people are aware of associated with EBV, but it is. Let me see. So we talked about the buzzing in the ear or the ringing. That's very common. You can have ataxia, which is loss of balance. So this is what happens to me when I have a combination of EBV and Wi-Fi and mold, which is a triple whammy. And so don't be afraid of it. That's what it is. Sometimes people have anxiety attacks. A very weird symptom is when people cannot drive or even ride on the passenger side, or they can't fly. You can have anxiety without being an anxious person. It's kind of an external anxiety that you don't understand. That's probably EBV, and it could be EBV plus nutritional deficiencies together. Some people have fever or kind of close to fever, feverish, but not fever situation when it's very uncomfortable and nobody can pinpoint why you have that fever. Sometimes chills, sometimes waking up anxious in the middle of the night. Sometimes you can have enlarged liver, enlarged spleen. Liver enzymes can be elevated. The white blood cells can be elevated. Some people can have rashes on the skin. Let me see here. You can have decreased appetite. You can have some gut problems. You can have low platelets sometimes. This will cause easy bruising. Some people have anemia. And odd symptoms is hypersensitivity to mosquito bites. Pay attention if you get really infected and it doesn't go away. That's been documented in medical literature, and I always ask and screen for that. So I see that quite often. Apparently, it's more common in Japan. You can have abdominal discomfort, sometimes even vomiting. Oftentimes, you're bedridden and you just can't pick up. It's very common. Your eyelids may swell. One of the common problems with EBV is that you can't tolerate exercise, even slight exercise. That's I would say 80% common, not 100. Sometimes people still can exercise, but oftentimes if you exercise, you pay for it later. You are bedridden for another few days as a result. And then we put some posts together recently discussing corticosteroid medications. That's an open door for an EBV reactivation. So oftentimes people will feel like there is a honeymoon effect when for a brief moment you feel so much better, but then most of the time that will backfire if you have EBV, because you're just opening the door and EBV is free to do what it needs to do, which is reactivate. So symptoms of EBV kind of mimic chronic fatigue syndrome. If you look at medical literature, there's a lot of overlap. So you know, you would wonder whether the diagnostics is in medical community is correct, or if much of chronic fatigue syndrome is actually viral from EBV. So we could talk and talk. I could talk. I could have a complete talk also on medical conditions that are attributed to EBV. But for the purpose of today, I think a couple of things to sum up to keep in mind is, if things are unexplained and you are just miserable and you're not getting results no matter what you try, what therapy you try, that's validating that you should test for EBV, right? And if you are not responding in particular to what the doctors are trying to do to help you. And as you can see, the laundry list is enormous. And so sometimes people ask me, well, what about this and that condition? It's like, I don't know, but let's go to PubMed and look for research and see if there's any studies on this particular condition in EBV. And oftentimes the studies come up. And even I'm surprised that there is a link. So it's a very big umbrella virus. And just remember, most of us have it. I've had it. I never tested until last fall because I had a feeling. I could hear it and feel it in my ear. I had all the cofactors, you know, the mold, the stress. And so we tested and it was confirmed. But at the same time, when you know what to do, you can zap it and you can stall your infection within 24, 48 hours, more like 48 hours. So I was able to do it twice on myself doing the protocols that we do. So I don't want you to fear the virus. It's just a virus. It is predictable. It is an opportunist, but we also have a lot of opportunities to turn it down and turn it off. So I don't see any comments today, so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm really delighted that I can share these short talks with you, and hopefully this will give you a little bit more of peace of mind and less panic and less worry and less anxiety about the virus. It's just a virus. It's a big virus, but you don't have to live with it. We have the solutions. We are here to support you. I'll see you here next Wednesday on another talk. Bye. Okay, and now see if I can turn it off. Okay, I don't know how to turn it off. And live video. Okay, there is the button. Bye.